Testing, testicle.
Right, so we're recording, and
I feel like I need to take a hit of Freddy's little. I don't even smoke, but
Would you stop?
what?
and three. Hold on.
What is happening?
With what?
She's like, now,
We're not on air yet.
yes, we are.
Well, we're recording now. You can cut this out. You're gonna edit this.
No, we're not editing anything. She wanted a vape. All right.
This is a nicotine vape.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, guys. Welcome back. Fancy meeting you here. Day 239, Hitchhiker's Guide to Cancer. And it's been a minute, but there's a lot to go over because I just had my, what do we say, the Duke number 4 visit?
Yes.
I think it's Duke number 4 visit. And we got a lot of information that we have to update you on. I got my boy, Freddy Valoy here, owner of Gaucho Studios. Thanks for letting us use the spot.
Yep.
And the fan favorite, Linda Palucci. You
Hi.
Yay.
Yeah.
fan favorite. All right, so let's get right into it. Let's start with what happened today, and I'll give you guys a setup on how we got here. The last visit to Duke, I had my MRI, which I normally have the first day. I had a horrible allergic reaction. Day 2, we found they reviewed the MRI and they found a third tumor, which was not great news, which they immediately took action, took me off the chemotherapy I was on and put me on what was called, it's an IV immunotherapy called Avastin. So this was the first visit since Avastin. And the hope was that third tumor was shrinking. And hopefully the others, but really we needed that third tumor, which was small, that they could address it quickly and it was shrinking. That was 6 weeks ago. So come back, got here yesterday on Monday, had my MRI, and I'll tell you about that. And then you could tell them about the doctor visit. MRI leading up to it, because I had an allergic reaction, they give you like this 12-hour steroid protocol. I took all the steroids and then had the MRI and still had an allergic reaction. It wasn't as bad. So normally my first one, it was itching. You get itchy. Your eyeballs get itchy. Your throat gets itchy. Your lungs kind of like tighten. Your stomach feels like your intestines are getting squeezed and you're like about to throw up. It is horrific. It's horrific. And so this time, if that was a 10 as far as painful, 10 level pain, this was like a 4. I felt kind of itchy. I had hives on my back and my chest. I felt a little nauseous and I felt a little itchiness. So that was not a great experience. They said they're going to increase the steroids even more, right? Next time I'm going to do like a 24-hour.
Yeah, 24-hour prep, and then add in some like Benadryl.
Yeah, Benadryl. Yeah. And then, so that'll be the next one, which we'll get into. So finish the MRI, come back today, Tuesday, this morning, did blood work, and then we met with the neurosurgeon and the PAs, and they went over the MRI. And why don't you tell them what we found out today?
So this was a big MRI because the last few appointments that we have not been great news. The one before this, we had found out about the third tumor, and the one prior to that, we had found out about the second tumor. So we really were going into this with the hope that there would at least be stability, and then best case would be there would be some shrinkage of the current tumors. We really needed a win, but unfortunately, we did not get that win today. We found out that the primary tumor, which was Christian's first tumor, the biggest one, actually is stable. So that is good. But the other 2 smaller tumors have doubled and now tripled in size in the last 6 weeks. So
tumor number 2 and tumor number 3.
2 number.
Which one tripled? The 2.
Yeah, I think number 2 tripled, and the newest one, the third one, doubled. So
some tough news, Freddy. You all right?
Is that the one you found was it 12 weeks ago? Was when you found those? The
6 a week ago. Yes.
Yeah.
So 12 weeks ago, that was tumor number 2, and it's tripled in size.
Yeah, it's tripled.
The one 6 weeks ago doubled in size. This is the thing about doubled in size. Glioblastoma, the whole point is when they rate what level glioma you have, I have the most severe. So I have a grade 4. That means severe and aggressive. So they grow fast.
Yeah.
Which sucks. I mean, but that's also why you have to be very swift in decision making, very quick. And that actually makes it hard on us as well, because when you're trying to get all the information and make the right decisions, that's why I needed a win, is because like, there's now what's the next thing? What are the next thing we have to do? So, yeah, it's been in a matter of 12 weeks that all that has happened.
Now, the first tumor, what was the growth like for that one?
Wait, for this initial one?
The first tumor that hasn't grown yet, but like from its inception, like
that's tough to explain, because that tumor started out the size of a grape.
Okay.
And it grew within a week. He's like, they did a surgery a week after they found it. He's like, in a week it grew. Okay. So it was severe and fast growing. The issue with that was that's the one that I did the experimental treatment on, the lit treatment, which is the laser therapy. There's a tumor there. The problem with the MRI, correct me if I'm saying anything wrong here, but the problem with the MRI there is you're not just seeing the tumor, you're actually seeing the edema or the scar tissue. So when they burn it, the laser therapy is you're burning it. So brain tissue is getting burned as well. So it looks bigger, swelling. So just like you burned your head, you see swelling and whatever. So my point is, you're asking, does it get bigger? It hasn't, but we're looking at a tumor, but we're also looking at the swelling and the scar tissue, and you can't really delineate. Did I say that right?
Yeah, like there's no way to actually tell
what is tumor
and what is the like dead tumor cells or swelling or necrosis, which is dead tumor cells around, without actually going in and having surgery to see that.
Okay, now and did the laser? So it stopped growing. Was that because of the laser, or they don't really know?
Yeah, theoretically, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so laser, radiation, and chemo. So it could be any or all of those.
Are they going to laser 2 and 3?
No.
Why not?
They could. I guess theoretically they could, but
too much brain tissue would be.
Yeah, it's a lot of inflammation, and it's like
trauma to your brain, and that could cause other issues.
Okay.
I mean, we're just going to guess here, and you're more like the resident doctor than I am. But based on what you see in the MRI, what do you think the size difference is between the first tumor before lit and after? Because I would say it's like more than 5 times bigger. It's huge. It's a lot of space.
I think it was like 2.5 centimeters or something when they first. Like 2.5 by 2.5. But I don't know how much it's grown. I mean, I started focusing on the other two at this point, but
yeah.
I mean, the massive one, it's good that it hasn't grown any bigger.
Yeah.
Because it did grow bigger during the first 2 chemo treatments that he had. So I don't know if like the Avastin had some effect on like cutting off the blood supply to that. But it's good that didn't get any bigger, but bad that it's not helping the smaller ones.
Yeah.
So now Christian will have had tried 2 different types of chemo, and then the Avastin, which isn't technically chemotherapy. And now the recommendation is that Christian would start on a 3rd type of chemo called etoposide. Which is another oral chemo medication. And he would have 21 days on, 7 days off. And he would still continue the Avastin treatment. So he'd be having 2 treatments over the next 9 weeks before we go back to
And this is the first time we've done chemo and Avastin in conjunction.
Okay.
We've typically done them separate.
I want to take a couple steps back. You guys mentioned, or Lindsay mentioned earlier, I know you guys been looking for a win.
Yeah.
And you didn't get that this time around. So how do you guys feel? I'll start with Lindsay.
um, there's been a lot of tears today. It's just, I don't know. It's just hard to think, like, how can these guys like just grow so fast? Like, it's just been 6 weeks, you know, like 6 weeks. I just feel like 6 weeks went by like so fast, and it's just time. Like, I just keep thinking about like time and like how important it is right now, and like making the most of like every moment. And I think I like had a thought that like maybe we wouldn't get like news we hoped for, but like just based off of like the last two, but it was a new treatment. And like, I also thought like maybe at best case they would have stayed stable. And so I'm feeling really overwhelmed, just emotionally, mentally. Just I feel like I want to like squeeze Christian like tighter and like soak up every like ounce of like time I have with him. And like the reality is like I'm not the only person in his life, and so it's just I don't know. Like I don't know how to describe it other than like just feeling like gut punched, and just like I don't know, just like trying the next thing. And it just feels like we're in Groundhog Day over and over again, like every 6 weeks, you know? And so I don't know, I'm having a really, really tough time with it. So
Do you think, obviously you knew there was a reality that we wouldn't get good news, but how was the news compared to what you came in expecting? Like, were you just like optimistic going in, or were you like indifferent?
I think I was trying to stay optimistic, just based because you've always been very positive and optimistic. And honestly, like leading up to it was the first time I really started to hear like, not, I don't know, more like negative self-talk. There's just not a lot of positive self-talk. Like you were almost like prepared for like bad news. And like, it was almost like I was trying to counteract that with like more positivity in like a way that like you would normally have handled it. And so I think I was trying to stay optimistic, and I'm like, well, come on, like we got to get some sort of break. So there was a little piece of me that thought there might be, but when you actually hear it, it's a lot different than like what you think in your head versus when the doctor comes in and pulls up the MRI scan and like delivers it. Like it's a different shock to your system in that way.
The interesting thing, Freddie, is like I'm an optimistic person, and I'm like generally positive. There is this level of realism to me, though. Like I'm also like a statistical person. So like if I've come down here 3 times and we've had 3 tumors, statistically, I'm probably going to get the 4th one. And I know some people will disagree with that. It wasn't like I was pissed or like bummed out or sad. I was more like bracing myself for the blow, because I actually feel better now than I felt. Bro, that second one, when they told us the second tumor I came down here, that was a gut punch worse than I've ever had. Like next to first finding out glioblastoma, that was the second worst, because I was so unprepared for that news. Whereas today's, while it's horrible news, I actually didn't take it badly at all. And I hate to say it this way, but it's because I was like almost like, well, this is a high probability that we're going to get this news. So there were good things I took out of it, but I think that might be the difference between us. It doesn't mean I'm not positive. I'm gonna defy the odds. I'm gonna get further than I thought I'd get. But it's like, okay, what's the new benchmark? What are we trying to get over next?
What were the good things you feel like you got out of it?
Do you want me to talk about all of it?
Yeah, sure.
So, one of my frustrations. So, all right. So when I started Avastin, I Googled, which you should, anybody who's smart, like, don't ever Google stuff.
That's like well known by now too.
Don't Google glioblastoma, which I knew not to, but I didn't know what I would do if I Googled Avastin, and I found something I never expected I'd find, which is when glioblastoma patients go on Avastin, they typically have about a 6-month survival rate. So it's different because I kind of didn't expect it, because my doctor kept saying like, this stuff is aggressive. It's stronger than anything you've used. So I actually thought I was going to hear some good news, and I found not that. So that did stick with me in a different way. And I didn't really tell, I think I told one person, but I even wanted to keep it like from Lindsay because I didn't want anybody, whatever. So anyways, so there's like this reality check. It's like, wow, 6 months from Avast. And now, again, it's an average. You're talking about like such a random sample size. But because of that information I've had going into this, one of the things that I've had conversations with the doctors about were like, I kind of want to understand what the end of this looks like because there's decisions that have to be made. And I want to be of sound thought in mind to understand, okay, how can I like preemptively think about those decisions? So to answer your question, one of the things my Duke is forever optimistic. They're all about hope, which is what Lindsay likes. They never give up. And that is great. But I also like reality. So for example, University of Maryland, the first thing they said when that's who I got my surgery through, the first thing the oncologist said to me was, this is serious. This is real. We're going to do whatever we can. We're going to throw the kitchen sink at it. In spite of that, the reality is the reality. And you have something that's very terminal and very scary. Think about your bucket list. Think about what you want to do with your life. And I loved it. Like some people might hate that. I loved it.
Why?
And I loved it because it was like, you're being straight with me. You're shooting me straight. And I was like, now I can get to work. Now I know what I need. Like now I can focus on what I need to do. That was in February, right? It was like February. He told me that. And so if he hadn't have told me that, what would it have looked like? I probably would have been not as urgent, not as like intentional, not thinking about the big picture. So that's the thing with me is like urgency. And so I respect when you shoot me straight. I think I have a strong mind and I have a strong disposition. You're not going to break me down. All it does for me is like, it gives me the picture so I can strategize. I just want to get to work. I just want to strategize. And these doctors are like,
sorry, when you say strategize, what does that mean?
So one of the questions in my mind has been like, okay, so I have the option of at some point I may need a live-in nurse in my house. At some point I may need to go to hospice. Maybe, maybe not. I still haven't gotten that straight answer, but that's a possibility. What do I look like? I asked her today, I forget what her answer was, but am I on a breathing tube? Am I like in a coma? Have I lost a bunch of weight? Like that matters. Do I want my daughter to see me?
Yeah.
Is that the last time I want my daughter to see me is like as a vegetable? I have to make those decisions. Do I, there's all these different, like, who do I want there? How do I want to look? How do I want it to look? But even like, let's say strategize where like the Avastin thing's true with 6 months. Well, we've talked about going to San Sebastian. Well, if we have 6 months, let's get to San Sebastian. When do I have, one of the big questions I have is like, there's going to be final conversations with certain people. One of the things I've been most grateful for in this situation is because I was told I have a terminal illness, I felt really grateful that like I have a say in how things can go towards the end as much as I can. Like most people don't get an opportunity to say goodbye to their child. I will get that, could potentially get that opportunity. Most people don't get an opportunity to say bye to their girlfriend or their partner, to their best friend. Like most people don't get that. Like, and so I can actually be intentional and think like, Freddy, what am I going to leave you with? And this is, I swear to God, today I was like, man, the last time I talked to Freddy, or if I write him a letter, if I do him a video, like, what do I want my message to Freddy to be? And that's with a lot of people in my life. I think about that. So that's the strategy part. What do I do? How do I use the time? What do I spend it on? And how do I set things up, the best I can so I can sort of like move on in peace. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You're going to cry. You're going to cry, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm just,
I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you what the message is going to be. You got to wait.
Yeah. So you looked up where we left off. You looked up a vast in 6 months. What did you end up, what did they tell you?
So last visit, the doctor talked a lot about hope, and like they are very, very positive. And Lindsay actually really liked that about him. He's like, we never give up. Like,
Well, I questioned it when he said it, because he said like he said like something about hope, or like I think he even used the word cure or something. And I started crying. I said, cure? Like, this isn't a curable like cancer. Like why would you? I don't want to be negative, but why would you even say that? Like, it was almost just like can you just stop like bullshitting and be honest? Like, and he went down this whole path of like,
he gave a very good he gave a good response.
I mean, until someone is like, if the patient is still here and they're still trying, like there's still hope for a cure. Like, you're still like curable until you're not curable anymore. So it's kind of like trying to look at it in that way. And it was hard for me to say, even question him, because I know Christian is very like positive, and I was like, I'm sounding so negative that I'm like, just stop bullshitting and just tell us. But I thought he did it in like a graceful way, but we still left there with like questions. We're still like, what does this really look like? Or like,
I don't care about dying. It's not about, if I die, I die. If I don't die, I die. Don't die. Like, that's not what it's about. Like, I'm hoping I'm the story you tell when somebody you know has glioblastoma, and you say, my buddy Christian was given 12 to 18 months and he went 18 years. I believe I can be that person. Why can't I be that person? I believe that in my heart. But like, I don't care. Like, whatever is going to happen is going to happen. Yeah. I just need to make it to tomorrow. That's it. I need to wake up. And so I don't get fixated on that. And so for me, you could tell me I'm going to die next week. It's not going to matter. All it's going to do is going to change the order of events of like, oh, I got to speed this up, this. So my point in all that is that doesn't affect me like cure, not cure, whatever. In a way, like I care more about maximization of my time that is happening. And making sure that like I can leave things as best I can. And if I exceed that, great. That's the hope. But what I care more about is, don't tell me when it's going to happen, but I care more about like, how does it typically end for people? Like what happens? Because I also want to be able to kind of prepare the people in my life and like prepare that transition. And so that's what I care about. So anyways, I looked up this Avastin, and then a nurse comes in. I have this information going in. The nurse comes in and we're talking, and I kind of expressed to her that I feel like I'm kind of getting pulled around a little bit. Like, you guys are taking this whole hope approach. Like, you won't just be straight up. Like, this is a possibility. And I'm like, I just want to know more information so I can leverage that information. And I guess she brought that back to the surgeon, to the oncologist. So she leaves. She was great. She was awesome. She's great. She actually, what'd she say? She was like, this is what I would tell my brother.
Yeah.
This was my brother. And what'd she say? Do you remember?
She said I would start doing like, I'd probably consider like slowing down with work and focusing on the things that are most important to you, that matter the most right now.
And that's what I want to hear. That's not going to bum me out, but it's like, okay, basically you're saying this is serious, and understand how serious this is. And we all know, maximize your time. Like, we all say like every minute counts, but like, do we live like that? Not many people live like that. Right? Like, and so that makes me live like that. Like, when you tell me, that makes me live like that. And so I appreciated that. So I guess she leaves, goes to the oncologist, goes to the other PA. So those three walk in, and he now has this information, and he sits down, and it was pretty much the first thing he said was like, I'm going to shoot you straight. It's unlikely you'll see next summer. Right? Is that how he said it? And, it may not have been what she wanted to hear, but for once I felt like something other than fake optimism came out of his mouth, which I appreciated. And don't get me wrong. One, it aligns with everything I've heard, seen, whatever. Two, when you give averages mean, first of all, we know they're outliers on averages, but that means that there's people on this side and that side. So if you're saying 9 months, that means that some people have lasted 12, 15, 18 months. Some people have lasted 6, 4.
Yeah.
So in my mind, like, that's the baseline. I don't think the other way. I don't think, oh man, I might not make it. I might make it 4. Like, I'm like, let's get beyond that. So I think that's where we may have received it a little differently. For me, I'm like, I took like a sigh, because I was like, for once, you are finally fucking being honest. That's how I felt today.
So when you got that news, you felt almost a little bit of relief. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes. Because otherwise I would have never believed things that he said in the future.
Yeah.
When you give me that, and again, every person's different, but like, if you never give me the real, then I question anything you ever give me. So now that he's giving me the real, he's also giving me the other side of it. I can believe either way.
Yeah.
He would have never given me hope if he never gave me the real.
Yeah. Lindsay, you right?
Yeah. It's, I mean, I just thought about like how quickly this summer went by. Like it just went by in a flash, and it's just to hear him say like, and it's like, I know inside like how aggressive this is. Like I've been to the appointments. I've done my fair share of Googling. I have friends whose parents have died from this disease. And so I'm well aware of the reality, but it hits different when you get a doctor who's been like
the expert.
The last time he uses the word cure. And then this time he's like, there's a high probability you might not make it till next summer. It's like, so was this my last summer with him? Like, was this my last summer with him? And like, it just hits different. Like when you just hear it, like in just a more tangible way. And then to also see it, pair it with the MRI results, and like, it's just,
What was, I know from a feeling standpoint, it was heavy, it was hard. What was like your first thought when you got that news?
I don't want to waste another minute. Like, I just, like, let's do shit. Like, I just, like, I want to experience the life I have left with Christian, because I thought I had a lifetime with him, and I don't. So let's get to work, like you said.
So moving forward now, what's the...
We're all going to cry on this.
Yeah.
No.
This is much, I will say, much better than the first episode we recorded. Yeah, this is... So, moving forward for you guys, what is it going to look like? What's the next step, I guess is...
I'm going to quit my job, and we're just going to go on vacation forever.
She's not going to quit her job.
I don't know. I kind of want to, though.
You know, it goes back to the urgency. You can talk, like we did a bucket list, right? Like there's a lot of things we talk about, and this isn't a knock on her or me, but I've mentioned this to her. Like, I think the difference, you can talk a lot, but what do you do? Like, what are you about? And like, the stakes are really high. So like, there's a lot of things we're like, yeah, we should, you look at our calendar right now, it says Thursday date night. We don't hit those Thursday date nights. There's not a lot of margin for error anymore. Start out. Let's hit the Thursday date nights. Let's, if we're going to go on that trip, we've been talking about this trip we want to take. Like, let's do it. Have urgency around those things. And this is what she is good about. She'll like throw stuff on my calendar. Like, one of the things I've learned in this whole process is the importance of prioritization and reevaluation of your priorities. And we've gone through this together and separately, which is like, you know, prioritizing yourself, but like, even like my priorities have changed so many times, and this happens, my priorities change again. Like, they're going to change again. And so for us, what are our priorities? And how do we stick to those priorities and reevaluating them and make sure that we're aligned, and alignment's so important for us together and individually. So really thinking about like, hey, let's stop screwing around. Let's do it. Like, let's do the trip, the Mexico trip we wanted to do. Let's do the whatever, all those things we said we wanted to do. Let's have a cabin weekend. Like, so in life, you're always like, oh yeah, you know, like things get pushed back. It's like, we don't have that luxury anymore. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I could pack that calendar real quick. So I am a taskmaster, so I can color code it and everything.
Oh,
so.
do it. Do it. All right. So you guys told us the treatment, what that's going to look like moving forward. When is your next visit? 6 weeks? Because typically you're on every 6 weeks.
I was on 6 weeks. It's actually 9 weeks this time.
So, why did they extend it?
Why was that? Did they ever explain that?
You know, well, it might, I don't know if it'll move up now, because I think they wanted to give Christian some time to just process everything and think about if he wanted to start another chemotherapy.
Okay.
And I think they were factoring in like a week for you to think about it, a week for you to get the meds, and then that was what was going to push it back.
And when you get chemo, they mail it to you. It's a really weird process. It's not like a prescription medication that arrives at your pharmacy. I have to sign a consent form. Then that company, there's a bunch of chemo companies, they call me, they have to get me to approve it. It's this whole process. And then they mail it to you. You get your chemo pills mailed. You don't pick them up. And so it takes time. That's the point. So I think they were just building in time. Okay. Yeah.
So depending on, I mean, it sounds like we are going to go through with,
you
are going to go through this.
Yeah,
so
100%.
we may even bump it back up to that 6 week mark.
Okay.
But yeah, tentatively scheduled for the end of November.
November 28th.
I like the perspective on wanting to know the bad news, like that you may not have until the summer, because like you brought it up, the strategy of like, you know, you're going to pull back on work. You're going to you can reprioritize everything and spend time with the people you want to spend time with and all that. So, because I know there's probably a lot of people that kind of maybe probably thinking like, why would you want to hear that? Like, what, you know, but that does provide some good perspective.
Yes. There is no less optimism and there's no less hope. There's not. And so if anything, the only thing that's crossed my mind, like people think it's weird that I track the days. Like in my journal, I'll put what day this is, because the first thing I did when I found in 12 to 18 months, I took 18 months times 30. That equals 540. So I'm like, oh, they're telling me I have 540 days. So in my journal, I track what day I'm on. So we're on day 239. Shit, we're on day 239, right? It reminds you of the urgency, but it's not. I think some people worry I'm looking at it as like a countdown, but it's not a countdown. To me, it's not a countdown, because I am so excited for day 541 and 42 and 43. Like that's going to be a celebration for me. And so that's my optimism, is it's never crossed my mind that I'd be day 539. That'd be my last day. I'm excited for day 541 and beyond. And I'm excited to defy the odds and to get to 640 and 7. Like, how's that going to feel? So I'm going to be the guy that you tell your friends about that defy the odds. And so by having that reality, it allows me to like focus on the things I need to focus on that bring me life. And what I told her was, I just want to do things that bring me life. And that is what got me here. Invest in relationships, spend time with the people I love, laugh. I want to laugh every day. And that is my goal. And so that's where Love is the Treatment came from. Love is the Treatment is like lean into love. And I believe that's going to be the cure for me. That's going to be what's going to, get me beyond those days. Not sitting here dwelling. I'm sad at times. I get sad at times. I cry at times. I get bummed out at times. But more often than not, it's the other. It's I laugh. I have fun. I joke. I share energy.
Lindsay?
What was the question?
There was no question. I was just kind of giving you the floor.
I was like, oh, I forgot the question.
No question. I was just kind of. I feel like we're,
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think each time we come down here, it's hard. It's hard, like news.
It is hard.
We leave just having like a greater appreciation for life and for each other and experiences, and just like being grateful for like every day that we have here. And I think it's very easy for us to get caught like, oh, we'll push it till next week, or like. And now I just think every time we come, it's a reminder that we can't push things anymore, and like we shouldn't, and like we need to embrace things, even if we don't feel like it. Like, let's just do it, because more oftentimes than not, true. When we do it, we're so happy we did it, and we won't regret doing more. We'll regret doing less. And I think that this trip was just another reminder of like, just cherish the time that you have. Everybody should, and like make the most of this life, because we don't know like what tomorrow is going to be. So, I'm looking forward to like crossing more things off our bucket list, and it's not always going to be easy, but we're just going to keep pushing. So
I think, what I've come away with from this experience, this experience has been, I've felt so fortunate to be diagnosed with glioblastoma, and that might sound crazy, but it's been I've felt so fortunate because of like the knowledge it's given me and the gifts it's provided me. And like, I've realized like our greatest ability is to be present. How do you be present? And I feel like I'm getting better at being present and like cherishing the moments. Like, and for example, like when I leave here today, which we have
a flight in 2 hours.
When I leave here today, like, this sounds really cheesy, but like, I swear my hug to you will matter. You know what I mean? Like, not because I don't ever think I will see you again, because I'm sure I will, but I may never see you again. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to try to make you cry again.
Yeah.
But I would never think about that. If I wasn't sick, I would have just given you a bro hug and been on my way, and that'd have been fine. And I've always been good at expressing my emotions, but like, it will mean something different, and it'll feel different because I'm present. Like, who knows if I'll see Freddy again, but I want it to count. And that's with every call, every hug, anything. And I'm not perfect. It's not always like that, but it is like that a lot more now than it used to be.
Do you have any final thoughts, Freddy?
No.
You're looking forward to that hug, aren't you?
The what?
You're looking forward to that hug, aren't you?
Well, that's all I was thinking about was the hug. I was like, how am I going to hug him? How long do I hold? How tight do I squeeze?
Mackenzie actually made me this bracelet. It says warm hugs on it, because I remind her of Olaf from Frozen, just because I love warm hugs in the summer. And so it just made me think of like, like,
you sounded just like him. You sounded just like him when you said it.
No, it always does. When she goes outside in the sun, she's like, oh, the
sun. So, yes, warm hugs all around.
No laughing. No laughing on the podcast ever.
The worst.
Shit, well, we did it.
Yeah.
So be present. I think that's the biggest message I have, is like, be present as much as you can.
Yeah.
And warm hugs.
Warm hugs. I like that. I'm going to double down on the warm hugs for the final thoughts.
So we'll be back at the end of November after the treatment of another round of Avastin and then the new chemo. And obviously the hope again is what it always is like with shrinkage, like hope that this is having some impact on the tumors and their shrinkage and some sort of signs that it's working against it. And if not, that is a good thing. They said for the first time, they were like, there are things on deck, like other chemos that they're prepared to take. And that's the other thing, is at some point I may have to go more drastic in the treatments I'm looking for, maybe go wild off the wall. And I want to think about that as well. So everything's on the table as far as I'm concerned.
Somebody watching this right now might be like, this is very heavy. It can activate someone like, oh my God, like, what do I do? How can I help? how would you guys answer that?
Help.
Yeah, like what
me personally?
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing I think I'm good on articles and articles and whatever. I'll keep that to myself. But the best thing to do is like just listen. If you're close to me, I know there are things I need, and you can reach out to me and say, "Hey, how can I help? What can I do? Is there anything you need?" And that's what in the beginning, that's what I asked myself was like, because it was really stressful at the beginning. I was like, if I was if it was the other way around, like, how would I want somebody, like, how would I want somebody to respond to me? So like, how should I respond to somebody? And it's just ask more questions. Just like, how can I help? Rather than tell me. Like a lot of people want to tell me what I should do, how I should feel, how I shouldn't feel. It feels good when somebody just messages me and says, "Hey, I'm thinking about you." Like no agenda. Like normalcy is what matters right now. Normalcy, sending me a joke, making me laugh, sending me like whatever, like that type of stuff. Or just simply being like, "Hey, I was thinking about you, missing you, sending you the love." Like it's just as simple as that. When people think about you, like it feels good.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you would do.
How about for you, Lindsay?
This is a question I've really struggled with because I tend to take too much on my plate and I'm not a really good delegator because I think I can do it better myself. But I think it's hard right now because as you can see, Christian like looks healthy and like he's able to like do things. And so I think the need for like physical help for me is like going to be coming in the near future. Like I am going to be asking for help and I don't know what
you're going to need
like.
food. I think you're going to need food drop-offs.
Food drop-offs. Yeah.
I think you need like subscription services.
Yeah.
You need your friends that meal prep, stuff like that.
The food thing has been really difficult trying to keep up with that. I just think consistency.
What's the one we really like? Those are, I'll tell you what, for our situation, especially when I do rounds of chemo.
Oh yeah, the territory foods.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
that one's
good.
really good.
Yeah.
We did Butcher Box, but territory foods might have been the best.
Like best tasting, like healthy.
And easiest to prepare.
Yeah.
Because that's the little things you don't think about. Like during 21 days of chemo, I'm, on my ass, and then she's trying to keep everything together and work. And so you don't want to go grocery shopping. You don't want to have to make all these meals. That's huge for people in our position.
Yeah. And I think bigger than that is just consistency. I think a lot of people, and Christians felt this too. A lot of people came like flooding through at the beginning of this of like, how can we help? And like sending things. And then it's just like radio silence for months. And then it's just like, okay, well, now that we get the next bad news, everyone can come running again. And it's just having just like consistency and even just asking like, hey, thinking about you. Is there anything that I can do? Is there anything you need? And just like consistently and compassionately just showing up because what you see here is only a small part of it. And like, we have our struggles and our battles. And so, the support is necessary and needed. So
nice. You guys got everything out from this one?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I felt like it was a good emotional release.
That was good. Yeah, thank you, Lindsay, by the way.
Yeah.
This is the second recording was because of you. So I guess send this off.
Guys, that is it for day 239, Hitchhiker's Guide to Cancer. Always happy to have my ace. What did I call hold on. My ride or die, my swole mate.
Yeah. Still don't get that
always
one.
Happy and extra happy to have Lot to Know Man, my boy Freddy Valoy joining us. No, but I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. This support has consistently been overwhelming. And we appreciate everybody. And happy to sign up from Gaucho Studios. See you in the next video.
Bye.
Bye.
Nailed that one, second round.